Hello everyone, and welcome to Whitetail Driven Solutions YouTube channel. We are bringing you tips, strategies, and tactics to help you and your property be more successful. We not only invite you to subscribe to our channel, but also hit the notification button to be notified when we release new videos.
Morning guys. Today's topic is the power of creating a line of movement. Now keep in mind, on a leased property or a family property where they don't want you cutting trees and moving brush around and habitat improving too much, there are still ways that I feel that creating a line of movement is a huge powerful tool. So what I like to do when I'm designing these properties is I always look at moving the deer. How am I going to move the deer, promote the deer movement from bedding to feeding? And it all focuses on, my attention automatically goes towards the terrain. How do I fit the terrain to their movement? How do I make that deer movement make sense for not only me, but it makes sense for them? How does it make sense so I can hunt it correctly and successfully? And how do they feel comfortable moving to get them from, like I said, bedding to feeding? The biggest power, the biggest tool that we have in our arsenal to use in aid of creating that line of movement or promoting that line of movement is the aid of these licking branches and them water tanks. Placing these in the perfect spot to help aid that line of movement is huge. 50% of the deer that I have had harvested while guiding or on my client properties that I'm promoting and designing, building, and putting these habitat improvements on, 50% of those, the deer that are harvested on these properties, are not harvested walking down a trail, walking down a direct trail from point A to point B. There's so much power in creating or enhancing that line of movement. We have select cut this property over the years 3-4 times. Very successful piece of property, hard maple, some oak, but the promotion in that TSI of the hard maple has destroyed this property on a wildlife management side of it. So how do we create that line of movement? How do we promote that line of movement from bedding area to point to the feeding? First step you do is take advantage of the terrain. Implement these licking branches in a huntable spot. Do not hang these licking branches on a spot that you cannot put a tree stand on them, because that's the whole intention. There's a few intentions of this. Not only is this a licking branch, obviously for communication reasons, it's an inventory stick, and it's a piece of the control puzzle to help move those deer from point A to point B, to give them a spot to stop. But on your aerials, you have to be able to take destination, feed location, food plot, bedding area, and through a transition area, and to promote that movement. Now, if you promote that movement down like this is along the top of a ridge, it's open. What do you do to it that creates that you can aid or you can create that line of movement? What we do in here is these undesirable trees that have been pushed through the TSI, through the timber management improvement for so long, need to go. You do not need a oak every 5 feet. You do not need a hard maple every 5 feet. The hard maple is doing absolutely nothing for the regrowth or the promotion of wildlife habitat. So what I do is I go down through that line of movement, and I will ribbon off. I'll take my ribbon, as I'm doing today, and I will take this ribbon, knowing where my line of travel was or needs to be enhanced. I'll take this ribbon and I'll go about every 50 yards or so, and I'll find the best promoting white oak or red oak that's going to drop those the best tonnage of those acorns at the right time in that line of travel. And I'll make that line of travel in conjunction with those oaks, and then everything else underneath those gets trimmed out, and it gets gone. And the reason that is by doing that in an open hardwood area, what you're going to do is you're going to let that sun to the forest floor now, get that sunlight to the ground, and you're enhancing the regrowth. As soon as you put that regrowth to the ground, and as soon as you make that into conjunction with the line of travel that you're promoting, that now creates an edge. So bedding, your destination food location, your feed locations as far as your food plots, tie that together with a line that promoting that line of movement. Along that line of movement, encompass these, take these 360-degree licking branches, hang them in the right spots along that so you can hunt those. It might, like on a small parcel like this, guys, it's only 11 acres, it might only be one stand location. This is a bypass farm. I know that the farm to the east of me is the destination feed location. There's about 100 acres of desirables over there, corn, alfalfa, beans. That's where they go. It's been like that for years. I have no control over it, and I don't mind them leaving to go there. What I want is I want this area to be the best that it can be during that third feeding of the day, during them huntable hours of the day, when they are going from bedding, going from that big location I was just telling you about, all those desirables, back to bedding, which is past me, through me. But it's an open hardwood situation, and you have to promote that. You have to do something to promote that movement. So along that movement, put these licking branches in, open that canopy up, make that line of travel, get that regrowth to the forest floor, implement those water tanks and perfect stand locations. Make sure you got the right, you can get in and out along that line of travel. It's just as important to not get busted on line of travel as it is to not get busted on a food plot or over a bait pile or on the edge of the destination food location. It's just as important not to get busted. You bust these deer on a line of travel between point A and point B. If it's in a morning situation where those deer are coming back from them destination, them desirables out there, that 100 acres that you can't compete with, if you're in the center and those deer get busted, you blow those deer. It's daylight at that time. They're not going to run back out into those because they've just witnessed or they've just encountered danger. They're not going to run back out into those desirables. They are going to go somewhere else where they know that bedding is, go somewhere safe. So what's that do? They're not they don't go back to your bedding area, so it screws up your evening hunt, which is going to screw up your next morning hunt, and it's a ripple effect, and it takes them days, sometimes weeks, to get back into that pattern. So, very strong point. The creation of these line of travel has to be sought upon, has to be enhanced. So your movement from whether that's on a desirable on the next property or in the next property, the guy to the east of you, like I have here, has all the desirable, has all the crop, has all the tonnage as far as the grains and the grains I should say, and the gentleman to the west has my bedding, and I'm right in the center of it. What do I do to promote it? You have to promote these lines of travel. You have to promote these lines of movement. You have to make it a safe zone for them, that they travel back through there in that area that is the best huntable area for you. And by doing these things, opening these line of travel, going down through there, finding those oaks that are gonna, drop some of that food along the way to them to keep those deer moving. What you're looking for in these spots, what you're creating by these hanging those licking branches in these water holes, guys, what you're creating is you're creating a roundabout on a highway is what you're creating. You're creating an area. You don't want a shot plot there. You don't want shot plots get people in trouble. They put brassicas there. They put too much greens, and what happens is, and it becomes a destination location, and you can't get away from them. You're on them, and it becomes a nightmare. So look at this as a hub on a highway. Look at this as these roundabouts that everybody's putting in the human world, in our world. That's exactly what you're creating here. You're creating a spot as a bypass on these small parcels. You're creating a spot for these deer to come through here, to use this, and to utilize what they need here, communicate with these sticks, get a drink out of these water tanks, and go by. But this situation here, we're enhancing it more because it's way too open. I'm not able to control that line of movement. But we will be, because we're going to open this up. We're going to get some of that daylight to the forest floor. We're going to tie that to another bedding area that hooks to a bench system that goes to our food plot. we're gonna hunt it. We're gonna hunt it. We're gonna be undetected, and we're gonna be successful. So you tie all that stuff together, guys, and the line of travel cannot be overlooked. The power of creating that line of travel has to be something that you tie together at these farms, and especially on these small parcels. Don't overlook that step, and go above and beyond to create that thick area, create that line of movement, create that edge, and you'll be very successful. That's your ticket right there, guys. Thanks.